In this video, I'm going to show you how to install BattETL and how to deploy BattDB in a Docker container. So to start, I have both repositories right here on my desktop. I recommend putting BattDB somewhere safe because the data for the database will live within this directory here. So make sure to put that somewhere where it's not going to get messed with. I'm also working with a fresh install of Python 3.9. Cool, so let's go ahead and get started. Open up BattETL and install it. Here we are. Alright, so just following the instructions here. I'm going to install the associated requirements. That's done. Now I'm going to install the package itself. Cool, that's installed. And we don't actually need PyTest for BattETL, but I want to run tests on this once everything is deployed to make sure it's working correctly. So we're going to install PyTest as well. All right, we have everything here on our end, and we're ready to test BattETL. But first, we have to deploy the database so that BattETL has a database to work with. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we are in this repository. Let's go ahead and look at our installation instructions. So scrolling down to our Docker instructions, we need to make sure we have Docker and Docker Compose. If you install Docker Desktop for either Windows or Mac, you'll have Docker Compose and you'll be all covered there. So I already have Docker installed, so I don't need to do that. Now let's follow the instructions for deploying this. Change to that directory, which has our Docker Compose file. And then we need to go modify our env file. So let's go do that. And this has information specific to our database that we're going to deploy. So the username, the password, I'm going to change this. Never use the default password. And don't use this password either. It's a bad password. But we always change from the default. We have our database name, and then we have our port. So that is 5454. That should be fine unless you have something else on that port, but we're going to go ahead and leave it there. All right, so we set that up with our new credentials and super secret password. So that's good. Let's go back to our instructions here. Alrighty, now let's run Docker Compose. Excellent, so that's done. Let's go ahead and look at Docker here, and we can see the container is right here and the associated images. Cool. So let's actually look at the database here. I'm going to use pgadmin. It's a free tool. We're just going to connect to it and take a look. So localhost, because it's on our computer. It's 5454. Username is Postgres, and our ultra super secret password. Cool. I'm connected to the database, and we can see the schema right here. So that is deployed. And then let's go check out our tests here, make sure those are passing as a final little check of our deployment. One final thing before we can do that, in order to connect to the database, BattETL needs to know the credentials. So we need to have an env file in this directory to do that. Let's set that up. And here we're going to put in our credentials. The target database is BattDB. The username is Postgres. And the password is our ultra super secret password. Hostname localhost. Port 5454. Cool. Now let's run the tests. I'm going to do that within the root directory. And this will take care of the rest. Excellent. So all of our tests are passing. Our database is deployed. You're good to go for using BattETL and BattDB.